Good morning and welcome to StudyIQ, my dear friends. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you're all doing good. Today is 20th December, Thursday today. Very positive start. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. Always remember this thing, right? Whenever you feel down, tell this statement to yourself and stand up back on your feet again. But this, dear friends, our pen drive and tablet courses are designed by best faculties of our country. And at present, I have a good news for you. Big Christmas sale is going on. You are getting flat 60% discount. Check out studyiq.com to find out more about it. We have many important articles to go through. The first one that we are going to go through is this one, a river running dry. But before that, let me give you a brief overview of what we have got on our table. This one is about transgender. This one is about Mizoram, pure political article. But one thing that I find interesting is that Mizoram has this potential of becoming a gateway of our country. It can work as a gateway when it comes to Act East policy or BIMSTEC connectivity. Mizoram is important. So what we need is we need to create infrastructure in Mizoram. Then we have this individual versus society, or individual versus state, what it is all about. We are going to go through it. India and China. One important thing or a takeaway from this, befriend thy neighbor, is this one. You can expect a question in your interview. They can ask you this simple question like, why China is ahead of us? We started, we were on the same boat, or our situation was same back in 1980s or before that. So why China is far ahead of India? What is the main reason? And there are people out there, they say that democracy is the main reason because we are a democratic country and China is not a democratic country. That is the main reason why China is ahead of us. Is it really the right reason? Yes or no? We don't know. We are going to find out from this article. And then you have this one, it's about Congress party, not important for you. This one is about Delhi, dead or alive, like pollution and what it used to be, what it is now. We have gone through it so many times, so nothing new that we can find in this article. But yes, this one is quite interesting. This river running dry, a river running dry, that's the title. So from the name itself, I'm sure 50% things are clear to you. If you pause this video here and think about like what this article will be all about, right? A river running dry, and now you can see a picture of Ganges basin on your screen. So you know that we are going to talk about Ganga. Now Ganga, why this river is important. Yesterday's question was on Amazon. We have read about this thing. We know this thing that Amazon is the biggest or largest river on this planet, right? That's right. But when it comes to Ganga, it is one of the most important river on the planet because this river is outstanding in a way because no other river, right? You don't means this river is feeding a huge amount of population. You don't find this density around any river, right? Millions and millions of people are directly dependent on this river. So in this sense, Ganga is one of the most important river, not only for our country but for the world as well. When it comes to food production, again this region is one of the most important region of our country when it comes to rice production, when it comes to wheat production. And you look at the population here, it is one of the most densely populated area in the world, in our country too. So it's so you can understand from this basic points, right? These are the things that we read in our books, isn't it? Like school books. And based on this thing, you can understand why this river is important. Now, of course, I'm sure all of us are aware about what basin is. Basin basically means all those tributaries and distributaries. And I do expect you guys are aware about the difference regarding tributaries and distributaries. But then as well, tributary is a river that is adding water to a main river. So here Chambal is a tributary of Ganga or Yamuna, right? So because Chambal is adding water to Yamuna, Chambal is a tributary. And there are a few rivers, right? They are taking away water from the main river. So those rivers are called distributaries. So this is a basic difference between tributaries and distributaries. So here you have this Ganges or Ganga is the main river, and you can see so many rivers are coming and becoming tributary of this Ganga. There are a few transboundary rivers as well, like you can see this Brahmaputra here. Of course, this Brahmaputra and Ganga, they meet in Bangladesh, but I'm just telling you example of this transboundary rivers. When we talk about transboundary rivers that are joining Ganga, then you have this Gandak, beg your pardon, Kosi, then you have this Kagra, all these rivers. See, they are coming from Nepal and then they are merging with Ganga. So these are a few basic things. Now, if you want to remember this picture, right, if you want a trick or tip how you can have this picture in your mind, or whenever if you are encountered with this question, like if you have to arrange rivers or if you have to identify transboundary rivers and things, the only key is repeated revision. What you have to do is you have to go through or come across this picture as many times as possible. So next time whenever you read about Ganga or maybe Chambal, so make sure you go through this picture, right? The more you go through this picture, more creative ideas will come to you. Like you will start from western side, Banas, then Chambal and Betwa, then you will divide these rivers into north and south and things like that. So try your own way, but make sure you do it repeatedly, and then a time will come. I cannot give you a fixed day, right? But if you practice this thing, then you will realize that yes, you have achieved that thing, that this thing is clear in your head. Now, a river running dry is about our focus, right? Earlier on, our main focus was, or our main aim as far as Ganga was concerned, it was Aviral Dhara, that is uninterrupted flow. Then it was shifted to Nirmal Dhara, that is unpolluted flow. Now government is simply focusing on Swachh Ganga, that is clean Ganga. Ganga is polluted, of course, and we need to clean it as well, because it's not healthy for drinking, for consumption, for biodiversity in general, for the whole ecosystem. It's like a polluted river. Polluted river is going to create more misery rather than happiness, isn't it? So we need to clean it, but just cleaning it is not going to be enough. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say here, because the main issue that we have ignored, or that is not the main, you can say, focus point for us, is this thing that the river does not have adequate flow of water. So flow of water, right, that's the main problem with Ganga, or it's a big issue with Ganga. And I'm not saying that we don't want Aviral Dhara, I'm not saying that we don't want Nirmal Dhara, I'm not saying that we don't want Swachh or clean Ganga. Of course we need it, because if your ghats and if your banks are dirty, then they are going to add pollution and other things, and they are going to destroy your river, and it's going to hit tourism sector and other things. So yes, we need all these things, but we cannot ignore. Our main focus should not be just one thing. It should be our approach should be holistic when it comes to Ganga. And the big culprit is this HEP, that is hydroelectric project or projects that are running on this Ganga river. Look at the numbers right on your screen. You can see hydroelectric projects on river Ganga. Look at this hydroelectric projects in this Ganga river basin. There are so many, it's nearly impossible for one person to remember all of them and to go through them. It will take hours for you to identify all of them. So of course you can have a bird's eye view on this thing. You don't have to remember all of them, but the thing is, here we are looking at big picture, right? This many hydropower projects, and if we look at or focus at some geographical things, or I would say topographical things, then we find that this river, right, this Ganga originates, or there are so many tributaries of Ganga, it originates from this Garhwal range of Himalayas, right? So remember, Garhwal range, where do you find them? You find them in this Himalayas, and Garhwal is a narrow range. At the same time, as I told you, right, these rivers and tributaries, they emerge from this Garhwal range. Now, this entire Ganga basin falls in this seismic zone ranging from 4 to 5. So first of all, your range is quite narrow, right? And the other thing is your dams are located in this seismic zone. So when this range is narrow, when there are small streams, and then you are diverting the stream, so that's going to create it's going to be very bad for the ecosystem. And just imagine, right, God forbid, but if we have a big, there is this area has this potential of bringing out a big earthquake. So if we have a 7 or 8 sort of earthquake here in this region, then So many dams will burst, and that can kill huge amount of people. That will destroy forest, animals, everything. So we are building dams in a very risky area. Apart from that, hydropower projects, they destroy our forest land because of this clearance activities. Loss of agriculture takes place, drying of water sources because of diversifying this or diverting the water of this narrow range and things. Then you have landslips. Then muck dumping. Muck dumping is that you take out the soil and then you are dumping it somewhere else. So this muck dumping also has its negative impact on everything. So these are basic 5 points that are destroying our ecosystem or our biodiversity. Now the strange thing or irony is that electricity is not generated as per the intended capacity, right? Maneri Dam is a good example. Its potential is 90 megawatt, but it's working below 40% of its capacity. So that's something that's has something to do with flow. And it's quite natural, right, to understand that when you are building a wall, or a dam is basically a big wall, right? So when you're building this sort of big wall and you're building it on a river or rivers, they are coming from Himalaya. So they are going to bring with it soil and silt and small gravels and piece of stones and things during monsoon time. And in the winter time, when this area is minus or below 0 degree, or it's in minus, so naturally ice is there is going to be a reduction in the flow of the water, flow of this river. So what happens is the silt will get deposited, and you are preventing this silt from going downstream. So that is having a negative impact on the fertility of the soil, because the beauty of this region, of this Ganga basin and the reservoir, is one of the most populated, and one of can say food bowl, you can say, or grain bowl and things like that you find here, is because every year you get new soil, new fresh fertile the silt and things are alluvial plains you find here because of this fresh silt pieces are brought by this rivers of this region, or Himalayan rivers. When you are blocking this thing, you are killing the fertility of this plain area. So that will impact us, from various different, from health wise, from society wise, from economical point of view, and of course we are destroying our environment. So if you see, then this is a big time bomb, right? And it's not just one report or one committee. We have got total 20 government committees and reports, and they have said that this dam building or hydro electric projects are not good for Ganga, and they are not beneficial. But then as well, we are one after one, we are building them. And then you have this one concept here called environmental flows. So environmental flows are the acceptable flow regimes that are required to maintain a river in the desired environment state or predetermined state. So this is something that you will read in this article. It is known as e-flows. So it's not electronic flows, it's environmental flows. And last item that I would like to share with you guys is that only 80 kilometer of the 2,500 kilometer long river now remains in the Aviral and Nirmal state. Let me repeat it again for you guys, right? Out of this 2,500 kilometer, that is the length of Ganga, approx length of Ganga, only 80 kilometer river portion is in the state of Aviralta and Nirmalta. Apart from that, everything is destroyed and polluted. So you can imagine the state of our river. Now, next item is on rights revised. It's about Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Bill 2018. Now this bill, at present, as we know that the winter session is on, it is passed from Lok Sabha, this particular bill, and now it is going to be in Rajya Sabha. It will be tabled in Rajya Sabha. And we know the situation of transgenders in our society, right? They are highly marginalized community. But they were, before British or this colonial Raj came in, their situation was quite good. It was not that bad, right? We have seen commanders, we have seen some rulers as well. And we have seen people at very important position. This transgender people, they used to have They were found in key positions as well in our medieval as well as ancient history. But after this colonial, power came in, Europeans came in. Since then, their situation is quite bad. So at present, they are still, that hangover is on, and they are one of the most, you can say, highly marginalized community in our country. Now, earlier on, the bill used to say that a person who is transgender is neither male nor female, right? That person is called transgender. So this thing has been revised. The revised definition covers any person whose gender does not match the gender assigned at birth, as well as trans men, trans women, those with intersex variations, the gender queer, those who designate themselves based on socio-cultural identities such as Hijra, Aravani, Kinnar or Jogta. So all this, you can say, the definition has been broadened, of course. But one key right, that is not there in this bill is this principle of self-identification. This was protected by Supreme Court. Supreme Court said that this principle of self-identification is one of the most important thing, or one of the key right of transgender person. District screening committee, right? There was a time when this district screening committee, you need to get a certificate, right? Each and every transgender should have this certificate from this district screening committee. So that's gone now in this new bill, but that does not mean that officials don't have any sort of opportunity to harass them. Now we have this medical certification requirement, right? So that's going to create more problem. We got rid of this one because of bureaucracy, and there were people out there, officials out there, they used to harass this transgender people. They were not respected, and they, it was a big pain for them to get this certificate from district screening committee, and now they have to get this. They don't need this certificate, but they need this medical certification. So that's going to create a bit. The situation is still the same. Now, bar on foreseeable separation of transgender persons from their families except through court order. So this is something that is added here. So that can create a bit of problem for adults, right? Adult transgenders, because we know the situation that they do find, not in all families, but in most of them, their situation is not that good. Their position is not that good, So if they want to leave the so-called society, and if they want to join transgender society, then that's going to create a bit of, you can say, problem. It can, right? I'm not saying it will, but it can. And the biggest problem is that this bill criminalizes begging. Now we know that most of the transgenders, they do a bit of begging. So during, they ask for alms during this marriage, or when someone as a child and things like that. So well, there's good occasions, of course. Now, if you are going to criminalize this thing, then that's going to create a problem for transgenders, because we don't find transgenders working in normal jobs, right? So if you criminalize this thing, then that's going to be, it's basically about hitting a hammer on this livelihood of this transgenders. And Supreme Court has said that they should be granted with this backward class reservation, but this is something that we don't find in this bill. So there are a few flaws with this bill, and hopefully Rajya Sabha will talk about this flaws, and hopefully Lok Sabha will amend this bill. So let's wait and watch. Now the position of Rajya Sabha is bad. Why it is bad, we are going to talk about it. Now let's talk about this befriend thy neighbor. Now befriend thy neighbor. Yesterday this picture was provided by me to you guys. It was printed in this Hindu newspaper, and I'm sure most of you have gone through this infographic. If you have not, then I reckon you guys to go through it again, right? It's very important infographic. Now the most important thing that we find in this article, it's this one, right? We are talking about this befriend thy neighbor. It's on India and China. The most important thing that I find here is that you can expect a question. They can ask you a question in your interview, as I told you, like in 1980s, right? Situation of India and Japan, beg your pardon, India and China was similar, right? We were on the same position, on the same boat. But now, as we know, if you go through this infographic, you realize that China is far ahead of us. So what is the main reason? In India, normally we say that we are a democracy and China is not, and that's the main reason. But the real reason is not that. The real reason is here. The real reason is that for a very long period of time now, China has collaborated with the best universities or institutions not just universities, I'm saying, right, but the best institutions and colleges and universities and research institutions. It has collaborated with them, and it has learned things from them, and it has worked hard in domestic arena as well. And because of this development in science and technology, right, that's the main thing, because of science and technology. And how it has achieved by collaborating with Western institutions and universities. So it has learned things from Western world, and now it is doing its own thing. So this is the main reason why China is far ahead of us. We have missed this thing, and what we can do now is because China's position was same, or it was in the same boat where we used to be. So what we can do is we can learn from China, we can collaborate with China, and we can learn from their experiences, and we can have this late starter advantage, like all those mistakes that China has gone through or done. We can avoid those mistakes. We will have our own mistakes, but at least we will not repeat the mistakes that are already conducted by China. So that's going to be our advantage. But for that, you have to befriend thy neighbor. Next one, we are not mere subjects of the state. Now, this article is interesting as well. In the starting of this December 2018, starting of this month, there was a sort of case going on in Supreme Court, and a person talked about his personal liberty. So Maharashtra government lamented before the Supreme Court and said that it has become a fashion of the day to make a hue and cry about personal liberty. Right, this was said by Maharashtra government. So what we can read, right, if we read between the lines, we find that Maharashtra government is trying to say that liberty or individual liberty is a luxury, right, and it is at the mercy of the state authorities. That's what we can make out of it. And it's not just one example. We have other examples as well, like Attorney General Mukul Rohatgi back in 2017, when this Aadhaar hearing was going on. At that point of time, see one thing, that when Mukul Rohatgi is saying something, when your Attorney General is saying something, Attorney General is the main advocate of Government of India. So you can say that Government of India is saying that individuals cannot have an absolute right over their bodies. We're talking about this biometric data and things. So this is what government said, that we cannot have absolute right over our own bodies. So that's not right. That's of course not a healthy statement coming from government. So here we need to ask this thing to ourselves, like, what is more important, a state or an individual? Of course it is individual, because Mahatma Gandhi, if you go through the statement of B.R. Ambedkar, they have said, Mahatma Gandhi rightly said that it is not superior to the individual, since the state is a soulless machine, whereas the individual has a soul. The other thing is we have this Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which criminalizes even the intent to indulge in what the state perceives as unlawful. If something is perceived as unlawful by government or by state, and if your just intention is towards it, then as well you can be jailed. Now B.R. Ambedkar also said that individual not only is above society, but also above state, but also society. The aim and object of society is growth of the individual and the development of his personality. Society is not above the individual, and the tension between state or any authority and individual will remain. It is going to remain. We find this thing in every state, in developed countries, everywhere, right? But this tension is for the development of an individual, and this tension is, if you look at it big picture, right, then we find that this tension is beneficial for society. It will take you through pains, but it will take you to next level as well. And but for that you have to allow, right? You have to allow or you have to provide this environment where individuals can freely speak, they can freely criticize or disobey laws that they find violating their idea. Of course, we are not promoting anarchy here. It's not like you come out on street and start destroying property. No, there are various different ways of saying no, or there are various different ways of saying that you are not happy with something, but for that, government has to respect the opinion of individuals. So when it comes to state, when it comes to society, we have few this sort of articles are important for your essay writing and things like that. Now, latest news items, let's quickly go through it. 9% growth by 2022 must to generate jobs, has been said by Niti Aayog. And you can see here that Niti Aayog has revised its target for 2022-23. For that, we have to increase the share of waterways. Villages should be digitally connected. Tax GDP ratio should go up. At present, it is 17%. It should be somewhere around 22%. Target is to raise the investment rate from about 29% in 2017-18 to 36% of GDP by 2022-23. Bill banning commercial surrogacy has been passed in Lok Sabha. Now it will go to Rajya Sabha. President's rule in Jammu and Kashmir. You'll be wondering, like, there was governor's rule and now we have president's rule. Technically speaking, right, president's rule is it means in Jammu and Kashmir we have our own constitution, right? So as per the constitution of Jammu and Kashmir, as per Article 92, right, for first 6 months you can only have governor's rule, and once this governor's rule expires, after that you can have president's rule. You cannot have direct president's rule, just like other states of our country. So the 6-month governor's rule has expired, and now we have president's rule in Jammu and Kashmir. I hope things are clear to you. ISRO's Angry Bird takes to the skies, and this is GSAT-7A, our communication satellite, a big one, lifted by GSLV F-11, of course by this Mark II with cryogenic stage, and cryogenic is something that deals with very low temperature. It has this KU or Ku band. It will enable superior real-time aircraft-to-aircraft communication. So very important for our Indian Air Force. A section of upper-class India, rotten potatoes, has been said by Jammu and Kashmir Governor. Swaminathan distances himself from this genetically modified gene editing paper. He said that he is totally for genetic modification and gene editing. He's not against it. That's what Swaminathan has said. Rajnath's, beg your pardon, Rajya Sabha rocked for 7th day. So this is the problem here. We are talking about this transgender bill. We are talking about this bill, this surrogacy bill. Now they will go to Rajya Sabha, but from last 7 days, Rajya Sabha is not functioning. Brevity is a virtue, has been said by Supreme Court. So that means you have to be very brief in your orders. And US announces Syria troop pull out, and India may need more planes, some 2,300 planes for this, you can say, flourishing airline industry. Vocabulary on your screen, and we have 2 faces, right? So can you give me the name of these 2 gentlemen and why they are in news and they belong to which country? It's a big international news. That's a hint for you. And then you have this map, right? We are taking a break from South America. We will return back to it, but just for a change, right? This is a big thing. So what's going on between China and Greenland? Go through it and think about it, and then you can post your answer in the comment section. This is your answer for yesterday's question. This is your new question. Download the PDF of today's lecture from my FB page and Twitter handle. And please make sure that you share this lecture with other students, and don't forget to hit the like button. Enjoy your studies. I will see you tomorrow. Till then, Jai Hind.